How can qualitative and lived experience data strengthen or challenge what the numbers show?
So, quantitative data can tell us that something is happening, that a gap exists, for example, that a rate is high or low, but usually it can't tell you why or what it feels like or what would actually need to change. And this is where lived experience data or qualitative data does something a little bit differently. So it surfaces what some of those mechanisms are. So the things that don't quite fit neatly into a category, the experiences that don't show up in survey responses, for example, that might be leading to why some of these gaps exist or what we could be doing differently. So in the context of this report, one of the clearest examples is probably unmet need. So the quantitative data gives us a figure, but it's the qualitative and the lived experience evidence that probably is going to be more likely to tell us what it actually costs families to navigate a system that isn't working for them. And so there's also a validity argument here as well. So the data that hasn't been stress tested against lived experience is more likely to contain assumptions that might distort that picture. And so bringing quantitative and lived experience evidence or having lived experience input in the analysis or understanding of that quantitative data or qualitative evidence makes both of these stronger in my opinion and experience.
What are 2 to 3 practical things researchers can do right now to improve how they work with data?
The first is to audit what already exists before you start. So, not just what's easy to find in academic databases necessarily, but this could also include what's been produced by advocacy organisations, community groups, and people with disability themselves. So, a lot of important work sits outside of the places that researchers typically look. The second is to be explicit in the methods about the limitations in the data that you're using. So again, this is not a defensive footnote, but it's a genuine part of the analysis. So if you can't see a particular group in the data, say so and say why that matters. Naming that gap is actually very useful and very important. Pretending it isn't there isn't. And the third is to think about accessibility from the start. So who will actually be able to read and use what you produce? Are you designing for them? That means plain language, accessible formats, and being clear about what your findings mean for people, not just for other researchers.